Dark Scorpions are one of the first archetypes in the game. Their fearless leader Don Zaloog was a staple in the early days of the game where hand control meant something, but despite their early release and feature in the anime, the archetype has not received any more support since 2003 when they first came out. Time to break these criminals loose from their prison. Initially, it was just Don Zaloog who came out in the 7th set of the game Pharaonic Guardian, alongside the card Dark Scorpion Burglars. Cliff the Trap Remover followed in the next set Magician's Force, and then Dark Crisis saw the introduction of the rest of the gang and their support. 3 more monsters who actually came with Dark Scorpion in their name, and a spell and trap to round out the lineup, Mustering of the Dark Scorpions and Dark Scorpion combination. Cliff was eventually changed to Dark Scorpion Cliff to simplify the wording on these cards. The premise of the deck is pretty simple. All the members get one of 2 effects when they inflict battle damage to the opponent. Don has the effect of discarding a card or sending 2 from the top of the opponent's deck to the grave. Cliff also shares this latter effect while also being able to pop a spell or trap on the board. Gorg also has a mill effect while also being able to spin a monster to the top of the deck. Chick can bounce a card on the field or check the top card of your opponent's deck and either return it to the top or bottom of their deck. And finally, Mina can either search a Dark Scorpion card from your deck or add one back from the grave. The group of burglars similarly gets an effect when it inflicts battle damage, forcing your opponent to send a spell from their deck to the graveyard. Mustering lets you spam the 4 Dark Scorpions if you have their leader on board, and Combination lets you attack directly with all of them so you can trigger all their effects. The custom support will thus help facilitate all of this. We need ways to be able to more easily inflict battle damage, ways to search out the gang of burglars, and ways to make sure the cards being sent to the grave do not end up benefiting your opponent. This of course wasn't as much of an issue in 2003, but 21 years later, a former strength of the gang can easily backfire. I want to keep the main lineup of 5 gang members as the centerpiece of the deck, so what I have for custom monsters is 1 piece of support and 1 fusion. The support card is Nightcrawler, who you can discard if your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn. You can then add 1 Dark Scorpion spell or trap from deck to hand, then you can special summon 1 Dark Scorpion monster from your hand. Meanwhile, in the grave, if you activate the effect of Don Zaloog or Dark Scorpion monster, you can banish him from the grave to banish 1 card from your opponent's hand or field. The fusion is the combination of all 5. Dark Scorpion Gang contact fuse by shuffling all 5 of the gang from your field and or grave into the deck. He has the ability once per turn where if your opponent adds a card from deck to hand outside of the draw phase, you can discard that card. His battle damage effect is he can banish to special summon back the 5 pieces from your deck. The spells start with a couple of anime exclusives, first being Dark Scorpion Insignia. This is actually called Dark Scorpion Tragedy of Love in the anime, and that effect inspires the second effect here on this card, which is that if you control Don Zaloog, you can banish his card from your grave to destroy 1 Mina you control, then destroy all monsters your opponent controls. As for its effect on activation, if you control the Don, you can add up to 4 Dark Scorpion monsters with different names from deck to hand, but for the rest of the turn, you cannot activate the effects of cards except Dark Scorpion cards and Don Zaloog. This is to balance out the essential +3 that this card has. This card is intended to work in tandem with Mustering to search out the 4 others, then bring them all out onto the field at once. The other anime exclusive is Dark Scorpion Retreat, a quick play spell that will let you return to your hand up to 5 Dark Scorpion monsters and or Don Zaloog with different names from your field and or in your grave. Then if 5 are returned from the field, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. Grave effect, you can banish it from the grave, then immediately after it resolves, normal summon 1 Don Zaloog or 1 Dark Scorpion monster, a much needed effect since the core monster lineup doesn't have any inherent special summoning abilities. Next up we have Dark Scorpion Operation, a continuous spell that nets you a draw each time a Don Zaloog or Dark Scorpion monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent. So not only do their effects minus your opponent, but now they generate advantage for you, creating a looting effect true to actual burglary. Other effect is if you summon Don Zaloog, you can add 1 Dark Scorpion card from deck to hand, enabling you to assemble the pieces for the big operation. You can only control 1 of these, so you're not generating an insane amount of advantage. And finally, we have Dark Scorpion Hideout, which banishes any card that would be sent to the grave by the effect of Don Zaloog or Dark Scorpion monster, mitigating just how much your opponent benefits from the cards you rip from their hand, field, or deck. Second effect is a tagging effect where once per turn you can shuffle 1 Dark Scorpion monster from your hand or grave into the deck, to then add another such monster with a different name from the shuffled monster. And finally, once per turn, this card lets you attack directly with 1 of the gang members. As for the trap, we have Dark Scorpion Sneak Attack. So this card is a bit of a groundbreaking card because I don't think any other card has an effect quite like this. You target 1 Don or 1 Dark Scorpion monster, and immediately after this effect resolves, it attacks your opponent directly, but any battle damage inflicted is half the original attack. So this is an attack that is taking place outside of the battle phase and perhaps even on your opponent's turn to immediately trigger one of those Dark Scorpion effects. Also has a grave effect because this deck needs as many effects as it can get. You can banish it during the main phase except the turn it was sent to the grave to special summon one Don Zaloog from your deck. Since so many cards require having the Don, this is a quick way to get to him. Alright, let's go through a test hand with the Dark Scorpion custom support. So we're going to start off with the Lure of Darkness, draw 2, banish the Dark Honest. Dark Honest works pretty well with the deck since it involves inflicting battle damage to your opponent with your Don Zaloog and your Dark Scorpion, so Dark Honest helps you get over anything. Next, we'll activate Pot of Prosperity, so like the Allure, it helps us dig through the deck to piece together the pieces of the operation, and this operation tends to evolve like 3 or more cards. I know it's so outdated from the age of 1-card combos, but here we are with Dark Scorpions in 2024. So let's grab the Dark Scorpion operation, and now we can start to activate some of our spells. Let's activate the operation, activate Hideout. Hideout can trade out a Dark Scorpion or Don Zaloog from our hand or a grave for another one with a different name from the deck. So add Chick the Yellow back to the deck and grab Don Zaloog. Normal summon the Don. On summon, Dark Scorpion operation will trigger to add a Dark Scorpion card from deck to hand. Now we got the Insignia. The Insignia, since we control the Don, will allow us to search out the other 4 Dark Scorpion monsters. So let's grab Mina, Cliff, Chick, and Gorg, and now with mustering we can special summon all 5 of them. And now we've got our 5 gang members out on the board. We can contact Fuse into Dark Scorpion gang, and so if we're going first we could end off here so that on our opponent's turn when they try to add a card from deck to hand, thanks to the gang it'll be discarded, and then thanks to Hideout, instead of being discarded to the grave it'll actually be banished. But if we're going second, then we could attack directly with the Dark Scorpion gang, even if our opponent has a monster on board, thanks to the Hideout, which will allow one of our Dark Scorpion monsters or Don to attack directly for the turn. So we'll attack directly, and then we can trigger its effect to banish itself to special summon back the 5 pieces. So let's grab back the rest of the gang, and say we attack directly with all of them now. So we attack with the Gorg, attack with Cliff, attack with Don, attack with Chick, attack with Mina. And since we inflicted battle damage with one of our gang members, Dark Scorpion operation will trigger, allow us to draw a card. And then we can also trigger Mina. Since she inflicted battle damage, we can add a Dark Scorpion card from deck or grave to the hand. So let's grab the Dark Scorpion sneak attack. We'll set that. So now on our opponent's turn, we could just leave our board like this. We could activate sneak attack on our opponent's turn, have Don Zaloog attack directly right off the bat, and then have them discard a card. Again, thanks to Hideout, it'll be banished. Or we could, again, contact Fuse into our Dark Scorpion gang. So we would have that search stopper. And then similarly, we could use Dark Scorpion sneak attack to attack directly with him and trade him out for the 5 Dark Scorpion members. And then since sneak attack is using that monster to attack directly, then Dark Scorpion operation will also trigger, allowing us to draw a card thanks to the sneak attack. So those are just some go-to combos and an example with a test hand of the Dark Scorpion custom supported archetype. So that does it for the Dark Scorpion archetype. Hope you enjoyed, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share, because in 2 weeks, the drought is over.